Denver may dare the federal government to come after it as a sanctuary city. A proposal being worked out now in City Council would direct Denver employees to refuse to cooperate with immigration agents except where specifically required by law. For instance, the Denver Sheriff's Office wouldn't voluntarily notify immigration agents that the jail held possible deportation targets unless they were convicted gang members, felons, or terror suspects. Supporters on City Council say this will help people who are here illegally feel comfortable calling police when they need them. I think a lot of folks understand the idea of we want every person in the city, whether they're here illegally or not, to feel comfortable calling police to get help or to save somebody else's life. Once we cross into the legal system and somebody is suspected of being a danger to our community, why does that person deserve an added level of deference?
I would actually reverse the question. It's not someone's race or their immigration status that commits a crime. If someone commits a crime in the city and county of Denver, they will be held accountable. We will arrest, we will prosecute, we will hold them accountable. Nothing in this proposal, nothing in our current practices changes that, but it is not our role to figure out what the immigration consequences should be of that. That's the federal immigration system. It's just not our job.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions is threatening to pull federal funding from so-called sanctuary cities, which, as we've explained here, they don't have a formal definition. So the feds are citing a specific law on when city workers have to cooperate with immigration agents. City Councilwoman Robin Kinich says this proposed policy follows the law while ending any voluntary cooperation or courtesy. Are these changes going to make it more difficult for immigration agents to do the vital work that they do?
We don't believe so. Right now, the federal government has the ability to seek warrants. They have fingerprint matches on the folks who are in our jail, and they have the ability to use the full force of the federal government to enforce their laws. It's just not simply our job to be supplementing their force or adding additional decision-making that we aren't qualified, we aren't trained, and it's not our legal responsibility.
You can dig into the details on what exactly would and would not change in Denver policy if you click into this article in the next section of 9news.com. And you can see my full unedited interview with Councilwoman Kinich on the next YouTube page. Downtown Denver will be filled with protests tomorrow by people who are great at making witty protest signs and somewhat less successful at winning presidential elections. President Trump's controversial education secretary, Betsy DeVos, is coming to Denver to speak at a conference at the Hyatt downtown. So protesters got in a practice session today. This conference is ALEC. Who, you say? ALEC is a what? Our resident smart aleck, Marshall Zellinger, is here to make us smarter about ALEC.
ALEC, A-L-E-C, is the American Legislative Exchange Conference. Don't fall asleep yet. What does ALEC do? Good question. Well, I went to find out what happens inside the downtown Hyatt over the next few days. There's that speech by Betsy DeVos and a few other cabinet members. But the part we're interested in is how bills are crafted. Lawmakers, mainly Republican, because the group focuses on, as you can see, limited government, free markets, and federalism, they'll meet in workshops in what are known as, quote, task forces. I'm told those are basically mock legislative committees, like we see at the state capitol, where bills that may appear at the state capitol next year will be honed and debated in meetings that we're not allowed to watch. If lawmakers are meeting here discussing policy, what would make that situation private?
Well, I think it's more that lawmakers are here discussing ideas. And just as I can't go to everyone's conversations, it's the same sort of thing. What worked in one state isn't going to work in another state, and anything that's taken from here, if it would be considered in a state, it would go through your own state's legislative services and legislative drafting. It would go through a hearing process, a floor debate, and eventually a vote, all of which are free and open to the public.
Right now, you can go to the ALEC website, and they encourage you to go to the website, and you can see possible legislation that looks like what we'll see at the Capitol. Fill in the blank lawmaker at the state of blank. And it's essentially a template for bills we'll likely see next year at the state Capitol. And we saw it this past year with free speech on campuses. That was something that started at ALEC and then filled in the blanks by the lawmakers.
It's like conservative legislative Mad Libs, basically. Yeah, just your state here. All right, Marshall, thank you. Attention, citizens of Colorado. Did you know that it is not in your interest to know what happened with Longmont Police's warrantless searches. No, really, the city said so. We asked to see and to show you the outside law enforcement investigation that found that Longmont Police didn't follow proper procedure to get constitutionally required consent for those warrantless searches. The city denied our open records request for the report, saying, quote, disclosure would be contrary to the public interest. So not just you, the public, can't see this. Longmont said, you, the public, can't see this because it's what's best for you. We would, of course, argue that whether police knew and followed the Constitution is in the public's interest. And if Longmont thinks we're going away on this one, they don't know how much free time we have. Our next question comes from a viewer named Sparky. Awesome name. Sparky wonders about the thousands of vehicles sitting at Pikes Peak Speedway, a sea of cars seen from I-25 in the Springs. He writes, could you solve the mystery? We're on it for you, Sparky. So there are thousands of VW vehicles parked along I-25, and here's what we know. So VW is buying back thousands of cars from owners. This is in relation to the scandal where they got caught rigging diesel emissions tests. So they're in trouble. It's going to cost the company about $30 billion. Part of that cost is buying back nearly 500,000 cars sold in the U.S. that can't be brought into compliance. So we asked Volkswagen about the car graveyard in the Springs. They couldn't offer us details about the number of cars, but they did say that that facility is one of a few in the U.S. where they're storing the cars that have been bought back from customers in the settlements. Volkswagen says some of the cars in the lots will be eventually returned to commerce or exported. This is once they figure out the emissions issue. And if they can't be fixed, VW says they'll be recycled. Our next question last week about international flights at DIA, how many of them there are, whether we compare well to other airports, that got us thinking about the size of our airport. So we had our Steve Steger take a look at how DIA has transformed and how it may transform in the future.
If you ever wondered who's courting airlines to fly into DIA, meet Patrick Heck.
My official title is Chief Commercial Officer and Executive Vice President of Global Development.
In layman's terms, he's responsible for the money the airport makes, and part of his job is convincing airlines to bring more flights into Denver. He can tell you a lot's changed in the 20-plus years under that canvas.
The airport was designed to accommodate that connecting traffic from east to west.
It makes sense. Denver was a connector between cities like New York and LA. But since the economy started booming here and more people moved to Denver,
The airport was designed to really accommodate about 60% connecting traffic. We're actually closer to 60%, almost 65%, what we call origination and destination traffic.
that origin and destination traffic is known in the airline biz as O&D traffic, and the increase in it may have to do with our habits here.
People here tend to fly more. It's a high average income. People tend to fly multiple trips a year.
So, understandably, airlines want to bring more flights here, which means the airport needs to grow. The airport is a lot like Colorado. Think of DIA like a crowded parking lot. Every spot, a gate. And right now, an airline takes up just about every one. And demand is so high, DIA will actually open 6 new spots or gates by the end of the year. And as that demand continues to grow, they hope to open a whole lot more in the next 5 years.
All of our concourses can what we call telescope out to accommodate more traffic, and all of them need to be expanded in some way, shape, or form.
So, much like everything else around you, you can expect to see the airport growing as the population does. For Next, I'm Steve Steger.
Why, hello again. You're probably wondering why I'm sitting in this seat. Well, the next story is about Frontier Airlines, so I figured I'd pick my own seat for free just to show them it could be done. We have a statement from Frontier about our commentary last night on the ridiculousness of the company making 2 Frontier flight attendants take a break from dealing with some of America's least satisfied air passengers so that they could stand there as props, holding a banner, while executives made speeches about new flights. The basic gist of what we said is that this adds insult to the injury of being the hard-working frontline employees of a company that seems to tick off passengers at every turn. Please clap for Lisa and Michael. Frontier's response to our commentary from their head of corporate communications, Jim Faulkner, gives you some idea how Frontier is run at the highest levels. Kyle, you're a jerk. I'm guessing you must have some sort of short man's disease. For the record, I'm 5'11". but I do look taller when I'm pushing a $35 carry-on into an overhead bin. Anyway, back to the email, where Frontier's head of corporate communications helpfully inserted my 9 News photo, where admittedly I look like a petulant child. He continues, have you taken a good long look at your picture? First of all, were you standing on a milk crate so that the camera could get your face? Did your golden retriever die before you took this picture? I'm surprised your high school letterman's jacket isn't in the background. So he goes on about how he felt like I was making fun of Frontier's employees and not the executives who made them stand there as props. And then he finishes with this. Sounds more like you're trying to work through whatever your low self-esteem issues are. So it looks like in addition to being a jerk, you're also a hypocrite. Signed, Jim Faulkner, head of corporate communications, Frontier Airlines. Never change, Frontier. Never change. You can see Frontier's full email, as well as my email response, in the next section of 9news.com.
I want this place to look like what it should for the people that come here to spend time with their loved ones.
New hope that one of Colorado's largest and best-known cemeteries could be green again. The Craigslist post offers up one dog, well-loved, in need of a home. The response will renew your faith in humans. And how fortunate are all of us who find a reason to have fun at work. Next. Here's the deal. You can complain about your day job, or you can dance. You can dance on the inside at work right there in your chair, or you can dance on the outside, like this construction worker spotted today near I-25 in Colorado. Carrie Heron saw him and thought that Kelly Heron, pardon me, she thought that his pure joy was the kind of thing that Next and all the happy people who watch this program nightly would enjoy seeing. Kelly, you're right. And happy construction dude, we salute you.
Dancing in the heat, that's what was happening out there. Our second day with 100 degrees in Denver so far for the summer season. I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. And these beautiful clouds outside look like they hold the promise of rain, and for some areas west and south that's happening, but not here downtown. We just missed the record high of 101 today, and temperatures will continue above average for at least another day. Triple-digit highs out across eastern Colorado, western Nebraska, and Kansas, but the high pressure ridge is starting to break down. That allows for that tropical plume of moisture to shift a bit further to the east. You notice the lightning detection is on, and all of that moisture is now beginning to creep along the I-25 corridor, and something that we'll see again tomorrow. The steering winds aloft are really weak, so some of these storms will be very slow moving, capable of producing locally heavy rainfall, and that could happen right here in Denver. A better chance will be Thursday night into Friday. So morning sunshine, midday clouds, afternoon storms, typically quite gusty with wind and lightning like we have outside right now. But as we head toward the weekend, temperatures will ramp down a little bit. Our chance for some heavy rain from some of these storms will increase. And I think you'll like the forecast for the weekend. Mid-80s is going to be a huge relief from the record high temperatures we've enjoyed this week. Up in the high country, it's been raining all day. Beautiful day at Loveland Ski Resort. Kyle.
Kathy, thanks. So we have a general idea of what a peaceful cemetery looks like. It's beautiful, serene, green place. Mount Olivet Cemetery in Jefferson County has certainly seen greener days. Carol Danillion has 2 sons who are buried at that historic cemetery, and she says that they've had problems with the sprinklers there for years. She tries to keep her boys' graves looking respectable, but she often wonders if Mount Olivet will ever be green again.
A lot of the people that are out here trying to keep care of these graves are old people. You know, what's going to happen when there's nobody to fight for all of this? Had they told me they were going to let this cemetery go like they have, I would not have put my sons here. I would not have them here.
The Archdiocese of Denver tells us they're working on it. They think that they're seeing improvements at this point from some multi-million-dollar upgrades to the sprinkler system. The existing system is old, they say, and that cemetery, it's huge. It's 393 acres, so they're just asking people for some patience.
I agree. I mean, I wish I could fix it all tomorrow, you know, but we have to fix it comprehensively, and that's that's what we're trying to do. This is a sacred space, and so we want people to come out here and feel like their loved ones are being taken care of by people who care.
The 3-year project to update the system at Mount Olivet is about halfway complete. Some news just in of national importance since we started this program 15 minutes ago. Senator John McCain has been diagnosed with a brain tumor. You may know that he had surgery on a blood clot behind his eye. That's why he's been away from the Senate. And then further review at the Mayo Clinic shows that he has a brain tumor, a glioblastoma. And the Mayo Clinic is saying that Senator McCain is likely to need chemo or radiation. They say his underlying health is good. They're not saying anything at this point about his prognosis. A woman in hospice asks a heartbreaking question. Who will take care of my dog? And then we experience pure joy with Charlie Blackmon's biggest fan. Wait till this kid hits the party deck in 19 years. And a sign that gas prices are getting beastly. Next. Yola, the Beagle Shepherd mix, is all over the interwebs today, something that she, of course, knows nothing of, being a dog. All she knows is that she is missing her favorite human, who is in hospice care. So Yola's going to need a new home. A friend posted something on Craigslist in Wyoming, and then the internet did what the internet does best. Here's Anastasia Bolton.
She's sleeping on the bed. That's her favorite thing to do. Snuggle and sleep.
Life was quite nice for Yola, a Beagle Shepherd mix. Maybe even perfect, just about a month ago.
She's a Beagle Shepherd mix, and it was pretty much love at first sight. I have a photo of them together the first day they met, and it's obvious they're meant for each other.
That's the voice of Bev. She's friends with Yola's human. His name is John. John adopted Yola from a shelter in February of 2016. In June, John was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of the esophagus.
From June 12th to July 12th, he went from walking his dog and, living his life to being in hospice. It was that fast.
Bev, who has her own dogs, couldn't keep Yola. She set out to find her a home. A shelter, again, was out of the question. Bev turned to Craigslist.
So out of desperation, I let Yola post. I wrote it in her voice. I asked her what she wanted to say. And we posted it, and we got very little response at first. And then a radio station here and some other rescues started cross-posting, and it took off like wildfire. I've gotten over 1,000 emails about her.
In just 4 days.
It's insane.
Bev is choosing carefully. Yola seems to know it, too. Animals sense that sort of thing.
She's under my arm right now, snuggling as we're talking.
For Next, I'm Anastasia Bolton.
This afternoon, Bev told us that Yola has a new home, a place with 60 acres outside Cheyenne. And Bev also wanted us to pass along a message from her friend John, who is adamant that people do not do what he did. Get checked out when something doesn't feel right, John says. He had not felt well for a while, and he ignored the symptoms. Let's find another reason to smile, shall we, even if this is the news. I would like you to meet Tommy, the biggest fan of Charlie's star, the Rocky star, Charlie Blackmon.
Leading off and playing center field for the Colorado Rockies, Charlie Blackmon.
It's Charlie Blackmon! Yay! He's here! Charlie Blackmon! Yay! Charlie Blackmon!
Tommy's 2 years old. He lives in Lone Tree, enthusiastically. His dad, Tom Carlson, took that video during the All-Star game. Look for Tommy to have a segment on Next in a couple of years. We have a sign that'll make you do a double take. And what's this? A new email from Frontier Airlines. Next. It's a sign spotted by a Next viewer named Don at the soon-to-open Maverick gas station on Mississippi in Aurora. I'm not sure who is running this place, but those prices seem steep and a little bit devilish. So let's hope they sort that out before they open. Whole stack of feedback on the email from Frontier Airlines that explained that I'm a jerk with self-esteem issues. And Frontier now writes to say those comments were inappropriate and don't reflect the view of the airlines. Seemed like they did, though. See you next time.